NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over. When the Nets just can't play. What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bring your latest in your Brooklyn Nets news. That was not long since my last NetsBoy episode. 2 days to be exact. But we have a lot to talk about and a lot to discuss because a lot has happened in those 2 days with this Nets team. So let's dive right in. Starting with literally hours after I posted my NetsBoy episode. Go figure. Kyrie Irving requests a trade. Stating, the contract that the Nets offered him was a slap in the face, that, he wanted the full max, that if the Nets weren't going to give it to him, that he wanted to be traded, all these things. And, my first reaction was just kind of like, what a surprise, right? Like, legitimately, what a surprise. Go figure. When everything's going well for the Nets, leave it to Kyrie Irving to just screw it all up. And, the irony of the whole thing was that literally 2 weeks prior to this, Kyrie Irving said the difference between this Nets team now and the Nets team last year is that there's no one halfway out the door on this team. A little stab at James Harden last year, who had 1 foot out the door and wanted to be gone. Like you can't write this stuff. Like, listen, in the past, I've been a Kyrie apologist. I kind of stopped doing that this year with the anti-Semitic, video, a movie that he posted a link to, and how he was double downing on all that stuff. And everything that transpired this year actually put me over the edge. But I have apologized to him in the past. But, dude, you could be the most tone-deaf player in the history of the NBA. Like, seriously. Do you not realize why people think and feel the way they do towards you? Do you think that anyone who looks at you and says you are a cancer in the locker room, a awful teammate, a two-faced liar, a guy who you cannot trust, who doesn't want to show up to work and play? Do you not understand why people say these things about you? Whether you believe it or not, which obviously he doesn't believe it, do you not understand why people think and say these things? Because if you really do, there's no way you act the way you act. There's no way you say what you say. How do you say that the difference is everyone's invested on this team and no one has 1 foot out the door, when 2 weeks later you're like, hey, I don't want to be part of this team because I didn't get my money. I'm feeling like I deserve everything despite me being a complete jerk off outside of the court and everything to the side. And I'm using that term in substitution to what I really want to say. And, and you can't see this? Like, bro, I don't know, man. Like I was done with them beginning of this year, and I had said early on I wanted the Nets to trade him, and then I kind of backed off because of how well he was playing. But I knew deep down that it was just inevitable. It was just inevitable. Kyrie cannot sit still long enough without causing a whirlwind of controversy and disaster his way. And I finally got to see it this year, and I'm just like opened up to it. Like I always knew it was there, but I'm like, no, maybe things will change. No. And this was the final straw. And look, I get why he wants to be traded and ultimately got traded, which we'll touch upon in a second. Because I get it. You want money. You want a max extension. You forfeited half your salary last year because of a vaccine mandate. I'm not going to get into whether that was right or wrong. That was his personal choice. No problem with that. He dealt with the consequences. He lost half his money. He couldn't get the max contract from the Nets last year over the offseason because the Nets didn't trust him. He thought that what he did in the last month and a half was enough to say, hey, yeah, you know what? you're worth 5 years, like $220 million. But the reality is, it is not. And that's all the Nets did. They said, Kyrie, we love what you're doing. Talk to us at the end of the year because we still don't fully trust you. And he said, you don't trust me? Well, screw you, I'm out the door. Like, I'm sorry. That's like a child temper tantrum. Like, at what point are you going to look at yourself and have any sense of accountability? But the answer is never. Kyrie's never had accountability. Look at everything he's done. I mean, even the anti-Semitic link that he shared, instead of saying, I'm sorry, I screwed up, he doubled down and said, I'm not anti-Semitic. Like, he's so tone deaf. He's so tone deaf, it's not even funny. I said deaf. Deaf. Like, it is what it is. He's gone. And you know what? Kudos to Sean Marks and the Nets. They said, you know what? We're not playing this game. You want out, you're gone. And I couldn't be more happy about it. The Nets ended up trading Kyrie Irving to the Dallas Mavericks in what I think is a pretty good haul. And the only reason why I wouldn't say it's a great trade is because the Nets did not get JaVale McGee in that said trade. I wanted the Nets to get JaVale McGee in any trade with the Mavericks because they need size. But I will take Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, unprotected first-round draft pick in 2029, and 2 second-round draft picks. I will take that for the head case that is Kyrie Irving. And we'll dive into that why in a second. But I just want to point out once again just the ridiculous nature of this whole situation. This team was rolling. This team was looking at Kevin Durant coming back in the next week or so and saying, with Durant back and Kyrie on this team, maybe we've got a chance to win the whole thing, at least get to the Eastern Conference Championship. We just need to make a few tweaks. And I touched upon it in my last episode just 2 days ago. And to go from there to just Kyrie wants out, it's crazy. But once again, should we expect anything different with the Brooklyn Nets? I know I don't. I've seen this story way too many times. But you want to know something? I feel really good about it because of the move Sean Marks made. And now let's dive into that trade, as mentioned before. Look, the Nets also traded Markieff Morris in the trade to match up the players because, you can only have, 15 on a roster, active roster. Look, Markieff was a good player, veteran player. I ain't going to cry about that. Kyrie, to hell with him at this point. I'm looking at what the Nets actually got. And the reality is, Spencer Dinwiddie, who we all love, right? Net fans love Spencer Dinwiddie. He's part of that original fun core. I literally talked about in my last episode how, Joe Harris was the last of the remaining fun Nets, right? There was no D'Angelo Russell, no Karis LeVert, no Jared Allen, and no Spencer Dinwiddie. Well, guess what? Spence is back, baby. Woo! And I honestly love it. I love Spencer Dinwiddie. One of my claim to fames, and when I say claim to fame, I mean very loosely claim to fame, is I had a great slogan. I did a NetsBoy 3 or 4 years ago. I said, who the hell is Spencer Dinwiddie? Because he just came out of nowhere. And that became something that I said all the time. And Spencer Dinwiddie became one of my favorite Nets, and for good reason. The guy's a fun player. He's a good player. He's a clutch player. And he's not afraid to help and make the big play and take the big shot when it matters. So the Nets get him to pretty much plug right into Kyrie Irving's role, though he absolutely is not even close to the same level as Kyrie Irving, so I don't want to go there. But he's still a really good point guard who has proven this year that he can play off the ball because he's played decent with Luka this year with the Mavericks. So he's proven he can play off the ball because that was always the knock on Dinwiddie is, can he really play off the ball? And the answer is he can. It's not the most effective use of Dinwiddie, but he is someone who can play off the ball now. He's shooting the three-point shot this year at around 40%, which is a career high, and that's because he's learning how to spot up and shoot threes, playing off of the ball. So kudos to him. So a great fit there. He's averaging 20 points a game this year and 5 assists. And he also can back up Ben Simmons and take that backup point guard role. So love the Dinwiddie aspect of things. And then there's the Dorian Finney-Smith aspect. Absolutely love this part of the trade. Dorian Finney-Smith, I always felt was one of those players that always seemed like, oh, damn, that guy always comes up big against the Nets. He is literally like Royce O'Neal 2.0 at this point. He is a stretch. I don't want to say he's a stretch 4 or a stretch big because he's kind of undersized. He's 6'7", but he is a player who can knock down the three-point shot. He can play good defense around the perimeter, has good length and athleticism and size to maybe play the backup 4 if needed, but really he's more of like a 3. But he's just a great three-point shooter and a great defender and fits perfectly into what this Nets team needs. He's having an off year this year when it comes to three-point percentage. He's shooting, I think, 35%, but he's a career 39% three-point shooter. And his ability to do the little things is very good. Like I said, he's like another version of Royce O'Neal. So you got a player like that, and you got a starter caliber shooting guard, point guard in Spencer Dinwiddie who can give you 20 points on any given night. And you got a first-round draft pick and 2 second-round draft picks for a guy who is a complete head case and doesn't even want to be there, and a third-string center. Not bad, Sean Marks. Not bad. So I love it. I love it. I love the deal. I think under the circumstances, this was really the best deal the Nets could get. I said it earlier. I kind of wish the Nets could have gotten JaVale McGee in addition to Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie, but then the Nets probably would have had to throw another player into the mix for the contracts to work out, and I guess Sean Marks didn't want to do that, or Sean Marks has some bigger things planned because trade deadline is still 5 days away, so it could still happen. So I guess that's why, but I kind of felt like if they could have gotten JaVale McGee too, that would solidify their front court, a great replacement for Kyrie and another wing defender and who can shoot the three-point shot. It could have worked, but overall I give the trade an A-. I really do. Look, Spencer Dinwiddie is not Kyrie Irving. Dorian Finney-Smith is not Kyrie Irving. The draft picks are not Kyrie Irving. I get it. But under the circumstances, with the headaches that Kyrie has caused and just being overall still a competitive team, I like it. The Nets are still competitive. They are still a very competitive team with Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith put onto this team right now. Are they a championship team? No. Let's be honest. They're not. Even if they make a move for another big that helps solidify their front court, they're still not a championship caliber team anymore. Like, the reality of the situation was Kyrie Irving was the difference between this team being a second round in the playoffs as the ceiling team and a team that could go to the conference finals. Like, that's the reality of it, if not even the NBA finals. With the way the team is now, if the Nets do make another move and bring in another big to back up Claxton, I still think the ceiling for this team is second round. And that is only if they finish in the 4 or 5 seed spot, which at this point I really think they do because they're not better than the Celtics. They're not better than the Bucks, and they're not better than the 76ers at this point. And some could argue they may not be better than the Cavs at this point. They're like right there. So I really think with Dinwiddie, Finney-Smith, Kevin Durant coming back, maybe another move or two the Nets make. I think the Nets are the 4th seed at best in the East. And so what does that mean? It means a matchup against most likely the Cavs, a hard-fought series. I do think the Nets would win that series, but after that, they would probably play the Celtics, and they'd probably lose in 5. So is that really what we want under this, with the Kyrie Irving trade? Under the circumstances, I'd say yes. I will take that at this point because, like I said, I'm done with him. That being said, there is one major other component to all of this, and people have touched upon this, and I'm going to emphasize it. And that is, what does Kevin Durant think of all this? Like, his boy just got traded. The guy that he came to the Nets for is gone. And a lot of people believe that Kevin Durant might be traded next. I firmly believe that for the time being, he's not going anywhere. But who knows? We could hear tomorrow that Kevin Durant announces that he wants to be traded too, which would be like a moment. I personally think what's happening is that Sean Marks is saying to Durant, listen, Kyrie wanted out. I know he's your boy, but we got to let him go. We're going to bring in as many players and to be competitive as possible. Now, we're going to try to make a few other moves to try to build a team around you, and we're just going to go for it this year. If it doesn't work out, we'll have the offseason to try to figure it out and make more moves to try to build a championship team around you. If you don't like what I do or we do, you're welcome to ask out, and we will honor it. That's what I think Sean Marks said. And that's what I would do. And that's the way I would handle this. I would tell KD, listen, we're going to do the best we can. You come back from injury. You try to play the best you can. We'll see what happens. Let's enter the offseason with more time to try to correct this team and make some other moves. And if it's not up to your standards or it's not where you want to be, we will trade you. And so I do believe Kevin Durant will be here for the rest of the year. I don't see him asking for a trade and being traded before the trade deadline in 5 days. But the question comes down to how does this Nets team play the remainder of the season? What other moves do the Nets make? And does KD really feel like he's got a chance to win a championship with this Nets team? And that's the million-dollar question. And I just said I don't see it. Even with this trade, bringing in Dinwiddie and Finny-Smith, I don't see it. I don't think they're good enough to compete in the East. But who knows what other moves Sean Marks makes. And also, who knows what happens. We've seen the development of Nick Claxton. We've seen Cam Thomas take over games and be an offensive juggernaut. We just saw it in that great Wizards comeback win just the other night, scoring 44 points. We see that. We know that Dinwiddie can give the Nets 20 points. Maybe Ben Simmons starts figuring out how to play basketball again and becomes the Ben Simmons of the 76ers. And maybe TJ Warren comes back healthy and plays well. Maybe the Nets do make a move and bring in a player like John Collins, trading Joe Harris and one of the first-round draft picks they just got for John Collins. And the Nets put together a legit team that can make a run. You never know what could happen. And so maybe there's a chance. But the reality is, the way it is right now on February 5th, they're just a second-round, playoff team at best. But who knows what could happen? And who knows? Maybe the Nets figure it out and all those things fall into place and the Nets play really, really well. And Durant says, you know what? This is the team I want to be on. And they able to get a few other players to come in over the offseason to help solidify the team. You never know. Anything could happen. But overall, I like the trade. Like I said, I'll give it an A-. It would have been an A if they could get another big in it. But I'm hearing speculation that this is just the beginning. That Sean Marks is actively searching to solidify the front court now and is using the assets they got, so the first-round draft pick and the 2 second-round draft picks, as assets to try to go out there and get another big. I will say this. Joe Harris is almost certainly going to get traded now. If not him, maybe Patty Mills or maybe Seth Curry. Preferably Joe Harris of all those three, because I think he's the most expendable with the biggest contract. Because Dorian Finney-Smith is another three-point shooter. He gets plugged right into that Joe Harris role. That's the way I see it. So I think we're going to see Joe Harris and a first-round draft pick, whether it's the 76ers pick or the Mavs pick that the Nets just got, being shopped around for another big. And I'm almost calling it at this point. So I do think that's going to happen. So we will see what else Sean Marks does. But the reality is, I'm happy. Before I wrap this episode, I will end on this note. I always give a NetsBoy salute and pay respect to any former Net who, is no longer on the Nets. So first off, Markieff Morris, it was short-lived, only this year. You provide veteran toughness. I appreciate, your third string, center presence, and I'm not trying to be like a smartass. Like, it was actually nice to have him as a third string center. He was a good veteran leader. So NetsBoy salute. Thank you, Markieff. Good luck in Dallas. And then Kyrie Irving. Look, I'm going to ignore everything he did off the court. Um, I'm going to say what I said before when you first came to the Nets. You know, you were the first guy to really want to be a Brooklyn Net. Everyone else who's ever been in part of this franchise or organization was either drafted by the Nets or traded for it. Never did free agents say, I want to be a Brooklyn Net. Kyrie was the first one to say, I want to be a Brooklyn Net. I want to play for that team. I grew up a New Jersey Nets fan. I'm from New Jersey. I want to be on that team. And then he brought Kevin Durant with him, which is fantastic. So for that, Kyrie, I really do have to say thank you and give you a true Brooklyn NetsBoy salute for just that, more than anything else, because that was something that was non-existent. And you probably were the most important reason why this team has been relevant, though it's been a headache, but still relevant, the last, 3 or 4 years. And look, I'm not happy how things ended. I'm not happy how you behaved off the court. But when you did play, you were great. And like I said, you brought Kevin Durant here. You made the Nets a relevant team. You wanted to be here, even though not anymore. So for that, I am grateful. So once again, thank you, Kyrie Irving, for what you did for this franchise. And listen, good luck to you, man. Good luck. I hope you get your extension with Dallas or somewhere else. You relatively are a good dude from what I've read and what it sounds like. I think you're a little tone deaf. I think you're a little ignorant. I think you live in a little bit of a fantasy world, but you're not a bad person, and you were a great basketball player. So once again, thank you, Kyrie, for all that you did. So that's that with that. On the other hand, welcome home, Spencer Dinwiddie. Who the hell are you? I'm actually pretty pumped about that. I can't wait for the press conference because Spence is fun, and I can't wait. That's like fantastic. I'm very happy with that. But anyway, let's wrap up this episode. Over 20 minutes. Let me know what you guys think about everything. If you agree with me about the trade, that you give it like an A-. If you like it, if you hate it, if you agree that this means Joe Harris's days are numbered, if you think the Nets are going to make some other moves, which I'm pretty sure they will, if what you think about Kyrie, let me know all the things. This is NetsBoy. Just trying to figure out what the hell is going to happen and go on. And signing off.